I polled my incredible audience for questions regarding protein and creatine, and they had lots. So I'm going to throw a few out at you if that's okay.
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
If I don't know, I'll admit it.
Okay. Ooh, this is a good one from George of the Jungle. Asked, I've always questioned the timing of creatine. When's the best time to take it?
It doesn't matter. What matters is that you take it every single day. So if you go out and you try to look at the studies, there will be a different study that says a different thing in many different cases. But the general consensus of the research community of people who full-time study creatine, they would say that the most important thing is that you simply take it every day.
Every day.
So don't worry about it. I take it first thing in the morning because it's the easiest. It doesn't taste like anything.
No.
You put a scoop in some water. I take that with, essential aminos every day, and I'm done.
Can it be taken on an empty stomach?
Creatine?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I don't find it irritating to my stomach at all.
Love that.
If you do, then take it with food. There's nothing wrong with taking it with food.
Here's an interesting question. Actually, this is not the first time I've heard this, but Lisa Bot 11 asked, "Why does creatine give me insomnia, and what can I do about it?" Is there any evidence that creatine is stimulatory, that it might lead to insomnia?
I am not familiar with research that would show that. I am familiar that creatine actually doesn't work for some people. Like some people, it simply doesn't give the response. Their muscle cells don't absorb it in the way that it does for others. But I'm not familiar with any specific research of it creating insomnia.
Yeah, neither am I.
I'm curious though. Now it makes me want to research that one more specifically.
Yeah.
If anything, it's tied. There's indications it can improve sleep quality.
Yeah, and we have already talked about the cognitive aspects of it. I would assume that it would help with sleep. What about the connection between creatine and hair loss? Have you heard about that? There's some concern.
There's no there. That's been debunked for 15 years, 20 years.
It has, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Very interesting, yeah. Because that would suck. Can creatine, Ingrid RP378 asked, can I add creatine to hot beverages?
Yeah.
You can?
Yep.
Great. Creatine. See, somebody asked, what is the best for women? It's very interesting. We're just going to say Keon. Keon's the best for women.
Yeah, there you go. Keon's the best. I mean, really just look for a creatine monohydrate. So that's the answer, but it's also the answer for men.
That is.
Yeah.
What about when it comes to creatine sourcing? Is there any concern about where the creatine comes from?
Yeah, and so this is what has led to the creation basically of a primary German-based creatine producer, and that brand is called Creapure. That is what, at my company, Keon, we choose to source from. And there are certain quality standards and ease in getting your certificates of analysis, et cetera, from working with a partner like that in Germany. All of the other sourcing comes from China. And that sourcing is it's a bit more complicated. I don't want to say that I haven't looked at every single creatine monohydrate source that's come out of China, but what I would say is when we compared and we made a decision about what we were going to put in our product, we looked at everything from the quality records, the C of A's, to also things like how easily it dissolved, and that German Creapure-based product is significantly more dissolvable as well. So, we've stuck with it, and it's been hard to stick with. During COVID years, there was serious supply chain issues. It wasn't the easiest thing to be like, no, we're only going to use this. Basically the only German supplier of it.
I'd much rather take creatine from Germany than China.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creapure. I've always heard that Creapure is the best, that you want to look out for Creapure. Phoenix.focused asks, can you take... This is an interesting question, actually, because I think I know the answer, but I was confused about this for a period. Can you take creatine while trying to lose fat?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say that creatine while trying to lose fat, it would help you in terms of if you're taking creatine when you're trying to lose fat, what's going to happen is, what I would say is if you're trying to lose fat, the primary methods you would use would be resistance training, likely some kind of walking to burn some additional calories, other type or NEAT type activities, not trying to run too much or else you're going to get really hungry. So it's how do I kind of burn calories through walking and NEAT type activities? And then how do I stimulate protein synthesis to build more muscle? And then I'm going to try to eat enough protein, essential amino acids to overcome the fact that if I'm in a caloric deprivation, well, so that's the last thing, and then eat less calories, right?
Yeah.
Well, you need to overeat protein, make essential amino acids or protein that much more of your diet. The only thing that creatine is going to do in that whole formula is make it easier to do resistance training.
Yeah.
It's going to make it to where you can lift more weights.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's only a net positive.
The way that I think about it, and this is a really simplified way, but I think it's incredibly helpful. At least it has been for me in the past when I've gone through, when I've undergone cutting phases, is the same strategies that are going to help you build to maximize muscle protein synthesis in a calorie surplus are going to help you better maintain that muscle when you're in a calorie deficit. So creatine is going to help you build muscle, and it's going to help you hold on to that muscle when you're in a calorie deficit.
Yes.
I can't tell you.
And I guess I would say, help me hold on to the muscle. It's going to help me to continue to train and to train harder.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to do. And thus through that, yeah. But the way I'm really going to hold on to the muscle is through a surplus of essential amino acids. That's the way that I hold on to the muscle. I have to consume even more protein or even more essential amino acids than I would have if I was in a bulk.
Yeah. While resistance training.
Yeah.
You've already kind of touched on this, but Natalie Johnson Health asks, should I take creatine on off days or just on lifting days? I think we've already established you want to take it every day. Yeah.
Every day. It's not like a only exercise day, which I was thinking about the other question that suggests that creatine created insomnia. I'm curious if that person was taking a supplement that was more like a pre-workout.
Maybe
that was high, and they thought they were just taking creatine, but they were taking caffeine and taurine and a bunch of other stuff like that. Then I'm like, yeah, that's why you have insomnia.
That could be it. I can't tell you. I mean, I literally can't count how many questions like best creatine for a 46-year-old female. Like, I don't know where the pink washing. It's like the industry. The industry's created this paranoia for women. I feel so bad about it. But yeah, creatine monohydrate is creatine monohydrate, and you want to look out for Creapure. And Keon is what I take. Still beneficial if you're not lifting. Yes. What happens if you miss a day of creatine? No big deal, right?
No big deal. I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, as long as you're taking it consistently, like one day off, it's not a big deal.
So from my high school senior thesis, at least this was the case back then, the thinking was that you could either load creatine. Like if you're naive to taking creatine and you want to begin taking it, you could either load it with 25 grams a day for 5 days and then transition over to a maintenance dose of 5 grams a day. Or if you don't want to do the loading phase, which I understand is a lot of creatine to take every day, you could essentially just take the maintenance phase of 5 grams a day, and it'll take about, I think the data suggested something like pretty close to a month, like 28 days to saturate the muscles with a maintenance dose.
I think that's pretty accurate. It's like if you take a bunch more up front, it'll saturate more quickly, where you can just take a little bit longer to get there.
Yeah.
And again, my general sense would be like, to have lasting change in my life, it's like keep things simple. Like rather than trying to like get this really quick result like right away, it's like just add creatine to the daily thing and take a scoop and just keep doing it, move on. And like, you're going to see the benefits in a month, 2 months, 3 months, like you're going to see it.
Yeah. And I guess the reason why I brought that up is because logic would dictate that if it takes 28 days of a maintenance dose to saturate the muscles, then missing a day or two here and there, like it would probably take 28 days to fully deplete your muscels of creatine.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the exact data on how quickly it depletes, but I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry about it. Ellen Jones asks, can I continue to take it rectally? That's gotta be a joke. Do you know anybody who's taking creatine rectally?
I don't. I haven't heard of that.
Is that a thing? No?
I've not heard of that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's commitment right there. Well, there's a lot of creatine gummies on the market. I know Keon doesn't, I take Keon powder. I think, you're not ingesting any extraneous calories when you take it in powder form, but gummies versus powder, any concerns? I mean, they are on the market. They are heavily marketed these days. I
don't have any concerns about gummies in terms of like how effective it is. It seems funny to me. That's the only thing. When I think about it, like to create a gummy, you basically can have about like 20% of active ingredients in the gummy. And the rest of it needs to be like other stuff, like all either gelatin or pectin or all these other things. So you're taking a lot of other stuff to get that 20% of actives. When you're taking something like melatonin and it's like 3 milligrams, well, it's like one gummy It's barely anything in it. And it's just one gummy. If creatine, like that's a lot of gummies that you're having to eat. And it's for something that doesn't even taste like anything. Like creatine is totally, particularly Creapure, or Keon creatine, it's completely tasteless. You just put a scoop in water and drink it. Like I'd just be done with it.
Yeah.
Like the complication of having to eat all of these gummies, it seems weird. I don't, I've been surprised that it's been such a big thing. Well, maybe maybe all these companies are better marketers than we are.
Maybe you're just old fashioned.
Yeah.
No, I've tried some of them. They're not bad, but it's like you're ingesting typically like calories that you don't necessarily. So if you're fat loss, if you're in sort of a fat loss phase, like it's way more efficient to just take the powder. I've gotten this question a few times. I don't know if you're not a prenatal nutritionist, but like creatine while pregnant. A few people have asked about that.
I mean, that is one I would direct you to talk to your doctor directly about. It's interesting. I'm not as typically. Supplements are something that most scientists don't want to test on pregnant women unless there's going to be huge upside to it, right? Because naturally, like the risk of injuring that baby or the mother, like it's something that they really try to avoid. What I would say, though, is that there's a very interesting article that came out last year that was a good meta-analysis of actually the positive impacts of creatine on women specifically for reproductive health. So it wasn't relative to being pregnant, but it was specific to reproductive health. And I had a whole list of benefits. I can't remember exactly what they are right now, but that actually has been studied.
Yeah. It's definitely if you have a medical condition or it's definitely something that you want to check with your healthcare practitioner. But again, just to underscore, creatine's been studied it's got decades of literature backing its safety, its efficacy. But most of these studies I would assume are in either premenopausal, non-pregnant women, or men, like dudes.
There's also quite a bit in postmenopausal women, creatine specifically.
Yeah. That makes sense, actually. Yeah. Actually, they probably do a lot of that research in postmenopausal women to control for the
sarcopenia,
monthly, the monthly cycle, because it's like this is an interesting question. What's the difference between creatine and protein? I mean, there's a big difference.
Yeah, but
creatine's made up of amino acids, right?
Creatine is technically is one amino acid. It's a good question. What it shows me is just like normal consumers out there getting marketed all these things. Like what should I take? Like what actually matters, right? So what I would say is creatine is fundamentally different from protein. So the role of protein, and let's just say like protein powder or even like essential amino acids, what it does is it actually stimulates the protein synthesis in the body. We're made up of proteins. Like literally our body is made up of proteins. Our skin, our hair, our nails, our muscle, hormones, enzymes are made up of all these proteins. And when we consume essential amino acids as a free-form supplement or as a protein powder or a steak, and that goes into the blood, that then builds the new proteins in our body. So that's what protein is. Creatine is this one very specific type of non-dietary amino acid. It's basically not an amino acid that goes into building us. Technically it's an amino acid because it has nitrogen component to it, but it's really fundamentally this thing, as I described earlier, it's basically like this energy source. It gets stored in your muscle and gets used to get converted into ATP in this very immediate, quick fashion. So it's pretty fundamentally different, for our purposes as humans, right?
Yeah.
Maybe technically they're both aminos, but they're not, the way that they function in our body are fundamentally different.
Yeah. Well, I use creatine every day. It's one of my staple supplements. I also love your guys' protein powder. It's whey protein, which we know minimizes risk of exposure to heavy metals and stuff like that you often see, in the protein powder space. And yeah, your essential amino acids make it super easy to hit that leucine threshold without ingesting, a whole lot of additional calories that you might ingest from whey protein. It's just like you've got all these options for consumers. I think it's really great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's the hope, man. Yeah, I feel like, a whey protein isolate and an amino supplement are they're two different tools. to accomplish the same thing. And it's like, if you want to make this kind of rich smoothie, then it's like protein powder is awesome. And if you want to feel more full, I mean, it's interesting. Whey protein actually is like been famous for like slowing gastric emptying, which is why people take like GLP-1s, right? It like slows down your digestion and helps you feel full longer, right? So if you want to feel really full, a whey protein powder is awesome. If on the other hand, like you don't want to feel really full and you just want to get the greatest kind of impact, like super concentrated whey protein powder, that's what an amino supplement can do. So they're both great. They're just different.
Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.